Staying in Paris had really done much for us. We were looking forward to start our next expedition to find Malin. We had to look at the Hatter. Oh. There was something to be had here. And we went back. Exposition grounds were quieter than I had left them. I enjoyed the rare moment of peace. We went to the Boussole Cassé. I let the familiar sights and sounds of the Boussole Cassé wash over me. I'd look into the Hall of Fame. I could see the achievements of my predecessors. Hopefully when my name was added, I'd still be alive to see it. There was nothing here. We thought we were prepared well, and so we went to go for a new expedition, even with a silly hat on. The Explorer Clubs had many expeditions available. The choice was mine. Could go for another missing missionary, a golden pyramid, or a buried pyramid. The Grand Temple of Gold had long ago been swallowed by the earth, but legends told of a way to raise it once more. Ooh. Or the Golden Pyramid. Rumors tell of a pyramids made of solid gold. Truly it would be glorious to discover such a thing. Or the missing missionary. We've lost contact with one of our missionaries. Investigate and find out why he stopped communicating. We could go to the caverns, to an archipelago, or to a drylands island. I would love to explore the archipelago. We had just learned about the curious plants. The Royal Avalon Society was there to support us. The night before I was to depart, the streets of Paris were awash with the flickering light of street lamps as I made my way to the bar. I was enjoying a pleasant evening in the tavern when I noticed a rather large, gentle lady cheering. She held her hand up victoriously. The woman had just won an arm wrestling contest and was searching for her next opponent. After a moment, her eyes met mine. Making her way to my table, the large lady called me out, as they say. She was willing to put down money that I could not beat her in an arm wrestling match. Yeah, and we really had bad chances. She was just too strong. I couldn't spare that much money just now and asked to reschedule the arm wrestling offer. The gentle lady scoffed, shaking her head in disappointment. I finished my drink quietly, and the rest of the evening passed without incident. After a time, I made my way upstairs to get what sleep I could before setting out the following morning. To adventure. What would await us there? I pulled close to the island, meeting up with my supply vessel. I wondered what the Royal Avalon Society had in store for me. Look into buying some more provisions. First aid kits were easily acquired, and that was something we were really looking forward to. As well as torches, that would also always come in handy. Oh well, some tea was unavoidable. And the granola bars there. Yeah, they would be a welcome addition. Tea and granola bars. And a travel to an archipelago. The provisions chosen, I considered if there was yet more to be done before I landed on the island. I'd refill water 1 time. Or 2 times. And then begin the expedition. We sailed through beautiful islands, finally finding a place to land at the beach. We were landing at dry lands, and as we left the ship, I immediately encountered a group of armed islanders. It seemed that they had seen my ship approach and were awaiting my arrival. They warned me that the missionary I sought had angered the local gods and had been taken to a local temple to be sacrificed on a holy day. It was clear that the missionary had soured them on outsiders scowling. They warned me to behave myself on their lands. It seemed I had limited time to find the missionary. I pondered what to ask the islanders before moving on. They wouldn't give us food. We could give them a gift to avoid further trouble. Could just ask them about the tribe, or we could ignore them. It's probably not worth it. We would just politely ask them. I inquired about the nature of their traditions and customs. They told me about men that had come from far away to plunder their riches and devastate their lands. That had made them distrustful of outsiders. A small group kept their eyes on me as I walked away. It seemed that their trust would not be easily won. Indeed, indeed, indeed. We wanted to rescue the missionary, but how could we do that? March further, finding maybe other islanders to talk to. These salamanders looked miserable in the heat. Their skin was dried out, their eyes looked empty, they were suffering badly. Something had attacked them in the night, I was told, and made off with their water supplies. We would give them some water. I quickly dispensed water among the survivors. These amphibians needed water to live more than man does. They were happy to get it from us. So we saw we saw something in the mountains. We heard of a couple of butterflies in the mountains there, and went to get that. Found Homie's deceiving quick moth. But what else was there to do? We would drink some tea in the mountains and go further north. Through the dry, dry lands. And we heard someone calling of trade goods. To my surprise, I encountered a colorfully dressed traveling merchant. He gave a wide grin when he saw me, placing a bulging pack full of wares on the ground. He proudly presented us with a selection of his wares. I couldn't help but wonder how he'd acquired such goods so far from home. There were combat bandages that he would sell quickly, or booby traps. Not something very tempting for us, but it would probably be good to acquire some seashells from him. That he gave us freely because of our negotiation skills. There was a portal there. We approached the trader again. We could really use some food. And he had some chocolate to share. could we give him for his stuff? That was the question. Four chocolates were okay. We didn't have much time. The question was where to go. We ate a granola bar. Then approached a portal. An ancient gate stood before us, a light swirling at its center seemed to form some manner of portal. We entered it and went into a cavern of old. Dark and dreary. Found ourselves in a terrifying realm. Were we somehow between worlds? We would wander through the corrupted fields. And we found a strange mirror circle. We found ourselves on a little patch of land surrounded by the strange monolith-like large mirrors. The familiar purple was clouding the glass. We would approach a mirror. The mirrors were clouded with a strange fog. It was hard to see my reflection, but it seemed like I wasn't the only one wanting to inspect them closer. Well, sent Homie to touch the mirror. He got sucked right into it. His form disappeared and the fog in the mirror got denser. A few moments later, he stumbled out of the mirror, holding his head. Something was different about him. When I asked what happened, he remained silent. He was fog-infected. Strong eddying towards the fog. Go further and approach strange jellyfish that were around there. I encountered a group of flying jellyfish that seemed to trade marbles, pearls, and other little objects. I wondered how they found those. We left, though, because we didn't want to risk something. But they told us of some people around there. In the voids. And some strange thing that was further north. Cut the forest and approached a strange shrine, and already many days had passed, and I had still not found the missionary. I would have to hurry if I wanted to save him in time. We approached the shrine. This group greeted me casually, as if I were an old neighbor out for a little stroll. They were completely unfazed by my appearance. We would ask them for food. Show of goodwill, they offered us a small amount of food from their stores. I warmly thanked them for their gift that was useless to us. The group of warriors marched away, standing tall and proud as they went. We approached a shrine. A forgotten temple stood bathed in light before me. The structure was slightly tilted and subsiding. The ground seemed as if it could open into a gaping chasm at any moment. We entered the shrine and found a small, shadowy chamber. We wanted to search for secrets using a torch. Knocking on the walls, I noticed that one section echoed with a hollow resonance. Upon inspection, I found a subtle slab door leading to a second chamber. We opened it. Took all of my strength, but I managed to move the great slab to one side. Wiping sweat from my brow, I cautiously entered a small doorway. I entered a small room adorned with religious implements. Looking through the ceremonial ornaments, I noticed something that seemed to hold real value. We would take the artifact. A golden seahorse and a tribal artifact. I stuffed my plundered treasure into a satchel and returned to the entry chamber. I would look into the altar chamber and investigate the altar. There was a lot there. Among them purple jelly. We would not touch it. Pictures on the altar warned that a great chasm would open beneath the shrine if the treasure here were disturbed. We returned to the entry chamber and left. Before we caused irreparable harm, we were overburdened and had to do something. The artifact clearly depicted a warlike people. I would have to be wary. Such an aggressive tribe could be dangerous. We would leave some water behind, as we didn't really need it. Then we went onward. Ate some purple jelly. Was tasting disappointing. And some chocolate was added to our diet. And some more. We'd have to travel quickly. To find an exit and the missionary. There were some strange pools that we had never seen before. We reached a wild sight. Small waterfalls were pouring water into pools. The water, if it was water, had a purple shimmer. Bubbles were breaking through the surface. This color looks like nothing I have ever seen. We would just rest here. I would surely get some well-deserved rest here. Homie approached Amarkaur with a heavy stride. When he was in breathing distance, he confessed his love for Amarkaur. I saw her blush and then embrace Homie. Love proved to be the universal language, after all. We would sleep, despite this. We found some good rest here. But my head felt heavy, my skin was oily and there was a sour taste in the air. Felt somehow refreshed but a bit unwell. We would leave and not bath in these strange pools. Drink some tea to start with and proceed on our journey. Curious as what we would find. One of us was infected. Homie's injuries. Another month had gone by since I had landed on this island. Began to worry that the time was passing quicker than expected. Still, we would cure Homie. He lost his infected wound, and we would approach the shrine. Forgotten temple stood bathed in light before me. In the distance I spied large jagged boulders like the peaks of mountains, ready to erupt from earth. We would enter the shrine and search for secrets in the chamber. And we found something. In a shadowy alcove I noticed a brief glint of light shining from the gloom. Treasure. Golden earrings and a tribal artifact. Looking at us, we entered the altar chamber as well and investigated the altar. Great treasures lay there, but we had to leave them behind. We were careful. Looked at the artifact, studied it, and decided to throw more of our water away. Or would we? Maybe it was just time to eat more chocolate. And then find out how we could leave this strange place. Something, though, was following us, apparently. Return some health. Mysterious places were there. We found another shrine that we approached quickly. A volcanic god's shrine, apparently. We also found another small shadowy chamber and looked around what we would find. As I ran my hand over the rough surface of a wall, a string of arcane runes flared to life, seemingly to carve themselves into the stone before my very eyes. We examined the writing, my mind becoming strangely focused. Found myself speaking words I've never heard before, chanting their strange song. Against my will, I lost consciousness briefly. When I came to, an inner glow suffused my being. We entered the altar chamber, investigated the altar, but left all the pearls and treasure behind. We left the temple in search for the priest. Where would we find him? It's time to drink some tea and pass through the strange forest that we had seen. Further and further we went. I had tarried too long. The time of the sacrifice had arrived, and surely the missionary was no more. Perhaps it was my imagination, but I could swear I heard the sounds of screaming in the distance as I prepared my breakfast that morning. We gave up and went home. Returned to Paris a failure. As repayment for funding my doomed venture, the Royal Avalon Society took all the goods and treasures I had gathered. I returned to Paris with a heavy heart. The hustle and bustle of the exposition grounds did little to raise my spirits. We would have to hurry more if we would want to find a missionary next time. With a heavy heart, we closed this chapter of the diary and said, "See you soon, my friends, and happy gaming." This is Immanuel Can, signing out.